Hello again, as we're here again for Tips for Tuesday. On this date, we will pick up back where we were last week when we were looking at the fact of the matter that Rebecca had had a double blessing, and that in that double blessing she also was showing that there was change happening through the Lord. Now, as we continue on looking at that, we continue, and as we see, after the children are born, one is called Esau because he is red. Esau meaning red. He would be the father of the Edomites, and then the other would be Jacob because he had the heel of his brother. Jacob meaning a heel catcher or a liar, a scoundrel, so to speak. That was what his name was when he was born because of what he was doing when he was born. Now, with that, this sort of goes back to that prophecy, the prophecy of the younger, or the older will serve the younger. So we know that Rebecca knew this. Rebecca knew what the prophecy was, the promise from God was. And in that, we know that as they grew up, there would be two different, totally different children. If you have children more than one, you know that each and every one is totally different. I know I've got a son and a daughter, totally different in themselves. But as we look here, what we find is this sort of will go along with the theme that Stephen will give when he's before the Sanhedrin. Stephen would give the theme of the first time that Israel did something, they messed up. And they always got it on the second time. So we see that with Esau, he was a man's man. That's what you find there, is that he is a man's man. Verse 27 tells us there that, so the boys grew, and Esau was a skillful hunter and a man of the field. So he was a man's man. If you wanted to go to war with somebody, you wanted him to be on your side. You wanted to make sure that you got what was needed. You went to him because he was the one that you were going to look to. And it says here, but Jacob was a mild man, dwelling in tents. So what we have here is this simple fact of one is a man's man, and being a man's man, he is everything, as you'll find out, everything that his daddy is wanting out of his son. He'll throw the football with him, go hunting with him, skin the dough with him, all those type of things. But then you got Jacob, who it says is a mild man. Now, as we look at that word mild there, we're tempted to think he was just sort of a prissy boy. But that's not what it means. Okay? The word there for mild in Hebrew means one that is whole. So as he went throughout his life, he had a whole experience. He was made whole. It means to be tame. Means that he was meek. Means that he was goodly or sought out goodness. So as you look there, what you're finding is that he was blemishless. He was without blemish. He was a fear of God, a God-fearer. So we look at these two, and you got the man's man, who is putting his trust in what he can do, and then you've got the mild one, or the God-fearer, that wants to do what the Lord would have done. And in that, that's going to give you really a good representation of what would come next in their lives. As you look there, verse 28 tells us that Isaac was loved by Esau, and he ate of his game, but Rebekah loved Jacob. Now, I'd say part of that is he's the baby. Okay, all of us older children, we know how the babies are treated. But he's the baby. Okay, it's all right. But he was also a God-fearer, one that feared the Lord. And in that, Rebekah also knew of this promise that had came, this covenant that would come. But you look here in verse 29, you start to see a delineation and what the Lord had said is going to start happening. Verse 29, now Jacob cooked a stew, and Esau came in from the field, and he was weary. So apparently he didn't get any game that day. He had a bad day of hunting. And Esau said unto Jacob, please feed me that the same red stew, for I am weary. Therefore his name is called Edom, or red. So we find there is that he's out in the field, he is hunting, he comes in, hasn't caught anything, he's tired, he's weak, and he looks at his brother and says, give me some of what you have. Now we look at this, and knowing the promise that was given, knowing that he is a God-fearer, knowing that he is wanting to have that which is due him according to the promise, we find here Jacob said, sell me your birthright as of this day. And Esau said, look, I am about to die, so what is this birthright to me? So we look there and we start to see something happening. We start to see that basically Esau didn't care about the birthright. He said, I'm about to die, what's it matter? So he gives him the birthright, he gets the chili, so to speak, and in that we find that he has now gotten this birthright. But we could also look at this in another instance where both men are both wrong at the same time. Esau is wrong because he doesn't care about the birthright. He doesn't care about what is due him. But then you've got Jacob, who's trying to get what the Lord has already promised. This goes back to a works-based type of idealism in ourselves, where we know what the Lord wants us to have, but yet we try to manipulate to get that done in our lives. And as we look at that, we need to understand that in that time and in that place, he was wrong. If you find yourself doing those same things, you know what you want and you know that it's out there, but you think that you have to be the one to make it happen, there's a problem. There's some idolatry going on in there, and that's a sin. So as we look at this, and we're going to pick this back up next week, but as we look at this, let us see the fact of it's all about grace. What the promises of God come by the grace of God and not by us trying to make things happen. If you find yourself at this point where you're trying to manipulate, trying to make a path that you can get what you want, it's time to bow your heart and ask for forgiveness. If you find yourself on the other side and not caring about what you have, not caring about having a superficial form of, well, I'm saved, what else does it matter? You are also wrong, and you need to bow your heart. You see, we find back in Ephesians that we were dead in our trespasses and sins. We find that salvation is through grace alone, not without works, lest any man could boast. And we find all those things coming together. That it's not by work, but it's by grace. And it's not by what we bring into it, but that we cherish the gift that God has given. Until next time, have a great day.